All right, thank you. Happy to be here. I was not able to be at the morning sessions, but just listening to the afternoon sessions, I feel like there's going to be a lot of crossover. And I had a quick chat with Kim, who was on the ice this morning, and about her presentation. So you're going to see a little bit of mixture weaved in as to some of the concepts that we're talking about today. So my presentation is about retrievals and exits, and then manipulating the forecheck by owning the middle of the ice. And I think we talk a lot in hockey about our breakouts. It's one of the things that coaches always want to learn more about. And generally, I find coaches are always wanting to know, well, what do I do? What do my wingers do on the wall to get pucks out of the zone? And I would, we're not going to talk about that today, because I'm going to challenge you to get the puck off the wall or put your wingers in a position where they're not picking up pucks along the wall in a pinch situation, so they don't have to worry so much about getting crushed by that D coming down the wall. So before we start, I've got 4 concepts I want to talk about, but before we start, I think it's really important that we talk to our young players, especially our offensive players. Everybody wants to play in the offensive zone and they want to score goals, but your first defensive play is your next opportunity to create offense. And the better your first defensive play is, the more likely you are going to get a puck back offensively. So if you can coach your centers to be part of the breakout help and to be coming back into retrieving pucks and being a big help on that, more likely they're going to get the puck back in the middle of the ice, which is where they want it and where they want to go up the ice with it. There is a direct correlation between good defensive plays and the next offensive opportunity. And we all know that being in the middle of the ice is where goals are scored from. So if you can control the middle, squeeze people in, move people to the outside, and then re-attack the middle again as you move up the ice, this is how you're going to create success on your entries. Okay, so these are the 4 concepts that we're going to talk about today. And when we go through these concepts, you're going to see about 3.5 minutes of video that we're going to race through. There'll be some stoppages in the video, but hopefully you're going to see these 4 concepts popping up a lot in the video. So the first one is just setting the line, and I think some of our presenters have already talked about it. Scanning to gather information, obviously on the way back to retrieve a puck, is an essential skill that your team needs to have. A lot of times I find young coaches or coaches of young players are talking about shoulder check, and that's great, but we're not actually asking our players to take in information. So if you can change your vocabulary, and I know we chatted already in the presentations earlier about getting your entire association on board, but if you can change your vocabulary to talk about scanning to gather information so that your players aren't just looking over their shoulder because you've told them to, they're actually looking over their shoulder to gather information. Secondly, we're going to talk a little bit within setting the line is off-puck defensive skating. So it's not always about the player going back to get the puck. It's how can we help that player, give them a little bit more time. So some off-puck defensive skating, forcing the forecheckers to go around you to take the route that you want them to take instead of a direct route to the puck. And then just being able to change your speed. It's not always, the presentation about timing today was something I'd never really heard, those 3-second and 1.5-second rules, but the idea of changing speed and then using that speed change to push off of contact, we'll see some of that in the video. We're also going to talk about manipulating the forechecker, which is not a new concept, hopefully, to most people here. But we're going to see some video of how to do that. We talked a little bit already about off-puck defensive skating, but cutting through hands in open ice, stick lifts, and then using our butt on the wall. It's the biggest, strongest part of our body, so we need to use it to force forecheckers or the checker that's against us to be where we want them to be, especially along the walls. Center support, again, the idea of speed change. We want our centers coming back. We talk a lot about being low and slow. That's a really vague statement for a lot of young centers. What happens is they go low and slow and they end up beside or ahead of the puck on the way out of the zone. So just a little bit more about how they can get to the front of the net, have their toes facing downhill until they're supporting where they need to be. And then the idea of a golf club grip as well. So setting a really big target where they're extended, because they can easily slide to catch a puck, but it's a little bit harder when you're in this position to be able to get to a puck or get it in your feet. So having a sliding bottom hand, especially for our centers on the way out of the zone. And the last thing we're going to talk about is just popping pucks into space. And this to me is something that we don't talk enough about in minor hockey. It's a 100 by 185 foot rink. There's a lot of open ice, and we tend to put pucks into places where they're very predictable to the other team, and that's why we end up with turnovers and have trouble getting out of our zone. So being able to place pucks into space and also asking our wingers to come back through the dot line into the D zone. So generally our wingers come back into the zone, they come along the walls and they get to the hash marks and they're ready, and then that pinch is coming or that F2 is coming down the wall. If we can get them to enter through the dot lane, now they've got options. The puck can still go up the wall. It can be a direct pass, like a bump off the wall or a rim, but they've shoulder checked. Probably there's no pinch coming because there's nothing to pinch. There's nobody on the wall yet. So just getting them to set up through the dot lane, and then that support through the middle with our centers and our weak side D being that next center, especially if our center is in the battle. Okay, we're gonna fly through these through these videos here. The video is gonna stop. There's gonna be pauses every time it stops, it'll pause for about 3 seconds. I'm gonna try to hit on all of the things that are circled in the lines, but hopefully you'll have a chance to go back and look at it if it goes a little bit too fast here. And I know we're on a tight timeline, so we're looking for players that are setting the line, manipulating the forecheck, our middle support, and then popping pucks into space. All right, here we go. So right away, the puck's in the corner. We've got some off-puck defensive skating and then a butt to hands in the corner to eliminate that guy's stick. The guy on the wall is gonna now set the line, make sure that he's available in the open ice, and we just pop the puck into that space. You can see his head's up, he's already scanning to see what's available. It's not a perfect play, but he's out of the zone. Okay, next clip, weak side D retrieval. Already we've got a stick lift, our strong side D is getting beat here, but a quick little stick lift to interrupt the play, a second stick lift on the way back, and then right through his hands to eliminate his stick, right? Change of direction here, and then using that contact to push off. So anytime you skate in front of someone's hands, they generally put their hands up on your back and they push, using that push to continue your pathway. And then a little bit of defensive skating behind the net there. Okay, here's another one, a stick lift on the way back into the zone. This is not a skill that you see a lot of players using, okay? Skates through his hands once, creates a gap on the wall, through his hands again, and escapes to the wall, and then is gonna push off of this contact. And you'll see as he comes up the ice, all this space in the middle, that's where the puck can go to be able to create that offense going up ice. Another weak side D retrieval here. Okay, we've got a stick lift with some controlled skating. He's not racing to get this puck so he can get crushed on the wall. He invites the contact. He knows exactly where that contact is and how he can make that next play. Again, not perfect. They're coming off of a change here, so we've got a forecheck threat happening. It comes back, we're scanning. Don't mind couldn't get the text off the bottom there. We're inviting the contact along the wall here. This time he does get hit, but he moves the puck as he takes that contact. And instead of rimming a puck up the wall, we draw on 2 forecheckers and put pucks into space in that bottom quadrant so we can skate up ice through the middle. Okay, another one, scanning off of this battle. He's pushing off this contact, and you'll see the weak side or the strong side winger here, ready for this pass as it comes off the wall. Golf club grip, extending out into and popping that puck into space, and we're already scanning as we go up ice here. Quick step to the outside. We've got support in the middle. It doesn't end up being a perfect play, but out of the zone and going through on offense. Okay, again, I told you this would be fast. We're scanning. We're turning our toes to draw our forechecker in. As soon as our toes look like we're going behind the net, usually a forechecker is going to turn their toes too. Quick little escape to the wall, and then we've got center support through the middle. All right, now we're on to Edmonton, so we move on from the Leafs here. Okay, quick scan, we've got a stick lift or an attack underneath stick. You see the center is right in the blue paint here, all the way back, toes going downhill to see which way it's gonna go and where they're needed for support. Those wingers were coming in a little bit off the wall too. Okay, here we go, this is Toronto PWHL. We've got a scan happening. We're gathering information, forecheck is coming. Our center is ready in the blue paint. And instead of just turning and making the easy play, she's gonna gather speed underneath. There was a chance for a cutoff there that didn't happen. Okay, golf club grip, and we're out of the zone. This puts their F3 in a lot of trouble because she's got to turn from a defensive position. We've got some more cutoffs happening here defensively. This is our center now in the battle, and you can see our weak side D is actually available to join the rush, and you're gonna see a second cutoff here. She's going to the bench for a change. This is a habit. Right? I know Coach Ben was talking about habits in practice. That's a habit. She's tired, she's gonna go to the bench, but she does a cutoff to give her teammate a little bit of time to enter the zone here, and we're able to break out of the zone. Okay, that was fast. I told you it was going to happen fast. Normally I would pause that and I would talk through some of those clips, but my clicker doesn't let me do that. So you may have to go back and look. All right, so I just threw 4 different concepts at you with a whole bunch of details. And a lot of times when we go to clinics like this, I find anyway, when I go to coaching clinics, there's a lot of really great information, but then it's never really taught how would you teach that information. So how would you get into teaching a toe turn defensive play or popping pucks into space and the number of reps that go with it. So these are 4 things that I would do if I was working with a minor hockey team, but also these are things that we're doing with our pro team on a daily basis. So anytime you want to teach a new concept, come up with a drill and let them run it. See where they're at before you start adding too many details. So if you get up at the board and you run a really simple drill, but you add 6 details you want to see, they're going to be so busy thinking about the details that they're probably not going to get that comfortable with the drill. So let them run it, understand the routes that you want them to run, then start adding details. I would really encourage you, if you are head coaches in this room, to lean on your assistant coaches and give them very specific things that you want them looking for a segment of time. It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month. It depends on how long you need to focus on a certain detail. You know, as Coach Ben said, sometimes it's hard to see everything as the head coach when you're watching things, but if you can really empower your assistant coaches to look for certain details and then reinforce those, like catching them doing it right, that's going to really help your team understand the details of the game, but be rewarded for doing them properly. And also knowing that they don't need to worry about making mistakes early on. Some of you might be sitting in here and seeing all these pucks going into the middle of the ice on breakouts and maybe feeling a little bit worried about that. But I can promise you one will end up in the back of your net, but I can also promise you will make better hockey players if you allow them to get a puck in the middle, move a puck, get a puck back, get into the zone. If you watch the top players in the NHL, they're not handling the puck for extended periods of time. They're touching it, they're moving it, they're touching it, they're moving it, and creating all their offense by getting into space. So I talked about adding the details once you've run the drill through a few times. It's also important to me that you move at the pace that your top half of your group can handle. If you're always coaching to the lowest player on your team, it's really hard to move your top players forward. So if you can coach to the top half of your team and coach at the pace that they can handle, the players that are less talented to start with are probably going to catch up. And if not, they're at least going to be trying to catch up. And so you're going to move them faster, but you're going to keep your top players moving with skills that are going to add to their game and give your team more success. And then the last thing is, if you have a chance to support with video, it's, you either have the video to show them, you can have it on an iPad or a computer. I know that not everyone's going to have a lot of tech at the rink, or you can just ask your athletes to go home and watch the first period of whatever game's on that night, and ask them to look for the details. Maybe they have a chat group, depending on how old they are. Maybe they've got like maybe they can snap each other, and that's what the kids are using these days, and talk about the details they're seeing in the game. Hey, did you see so-and-so just pop that puck into space? Or did you see him use his butt on the wall there? Like, you don't give them a whole bunch of details to look for, but when you start hearing them in practice or on the bench, or they say to you, hey, coach, did you see that? You know that you've gotten to them and you've got some success happening. Okay, so a couple of drills that I would use to maybe teach some of these skills. So the first one, and where the coach is here, this rim play, it doesn't have to be a rim. The coach could be above the players and putting it into the corner as well. But just a quick little rotation. This would be D at one end, so your forwards can be at the other end working on something. So this is just a quick, like, D going back to get the puck, turning their toes to get the forechecker to think they're going one way, and then a quick turn the other way. And as soon as they turn back, they need to make a play. They don't have time to stick handle it. They don't have time to take a stride or two. They need to get it and move it to one of those 2D, so they can pop it to the middle or they can pop it to that space on the wall. And I talk a lot with our team about quadrants in the circles. So you've got a lower outside quadrant, kind of where that D3 is, and then you've got a lower inside quadrant too. So those are kind of the areas that your players are looking to pop pucks into. If you give them, like, if they think they have to make a tape-to-tape pass every time, they're going to need to take more time to handle it. If they can get back on a puck and just pop it into space and you teach your forwards then to be able to pick it up with speed and motion, it's going to be a lot easier for them instead of having to make them, worry about making a perfect play. And you can just turn this into a quick shot at the end if you've got multiple goalies on the ice, or your goalie coach, if you have a goalie coach, isn't there. You can just do a quick shot, and then they would just quickly rotate. And then if you can support with video, I think we saw maybe 1 or 2 of these clips already, right? So remind them about the details. Anytime they go back, whether there's a checker on them or not, they need to be scanning to gather information. Coaches can stand with their hands up with holding up numbers so that when they go back, they have to gather that information and yell it out. Okay, and then this clip you'll see, again, this is the stick lift with the slowing down, right? Turning our feet, forcing that player to worry about which way we're going, and really feeling them in our backpack, and we know exactly where they are behind us so that we can manipulate them. Okay, don't look at all the writing on this. I wanted to be really detailed in describing what was happening, but the pictures will basically describe it. So this would be something, if you've got someone that can be doing some work with your goalies in the middle, you can do your forwards and D at either end, and we're just repping it out. I think a lot of times in minor hockey, we run these intricate drills and these flow drills, and they look great, and the parents are really happy, like, look at my kid out there, he's flying, but we're not actually repping out anything that's helpful on the ice. So you don't have to do drills like this for the entire practice, but this might be something you do every day for 2 weeks. Every time you practice, you just run through it. It takes you 5 to 7 minutes, and you're just having them run reps of the skills that you need them to be able to do in game. So this is without any kind of pressure. So they're just running reps and running their routes. So this would be for the forwards working on coming back into the zone through the dot lane, and then being available to pick pucks up with speed if somebody pops it into that space. The coaches that are down low there, they can make perfect passes, they can make area passes, they can put it off the wall, they can put it as a light rim up the wall. It's never going to be perfect in a game where you go back every time and be able to hit open ice quadrants, but have the coaches vary their passes. You could, if you don't have a goalie coach out there, you could actually have your goalies down there, and they could be the ones making those distribution passes. You get them handling the puck, and there's no real shots in this game, but you involve them in the not this game, in this drill. And then you have your centers coming down, and they can be going left or right. So they've got to be communicating where they want the puck and asking for it. So you're just running through reps. You could either run a whole line through with like one puck for the whole line and they go 3 times, or you just have them running. They're just going and going and going because there's no shots. And at the other end, you just have D working on that toe turn. So coming back and doing a bit of a shave where they turn their feet one way and then they immediately pick the puck up and pop it. So they don't even really have to get their feet going. They approach the puck, they turn their feet, and they gather it and pop it into space, knowing which side that they want to put it on. I have tires drawn there. You could have D standing there, but the tires are just like a symbol of where you want them to hit it. If they can hit the tire every time, they know that they've hit the space. Okay, a couple of clips here. I would have liked to see this winger run a little bit of interference and then get her toes going back towards the play, but you can see this D here brings in 2 players. Our center's a little bit late coming in, but look at all that space. 2 players below the goal line for them on the forecheck, ice into puck into space, and we're out of the zone on almost a 4-on-2 if it's a good pass. Again, we're bringing pucks back. Our center is ready here, even though she's not in a great spot. This isn't a perfect situation, but if we can manipulate those forwards to turn their toes one way or the other, our centers are ready. And this is one of my favorite clips because there's actually no touching the puck here. There's contact on the wall there. There's contact on the wall here. There's contact on the wall here, using their butt every time or their arms. And then our center is just support where she needs to be at that time. I think I would have liked to see her cut somebody off there with the puck on the way out of the zone, but she does eventually get it down, and I think she dumps it at the red line, that's probably why that's not in the clip. Okay. So this is the second progression of that drill we just looked at. So now there's just a little bit more details happening here. So this time, coach can put the puck in behind the goal line, and players the D can go back to pick it up, and they've got different quadrants. You see the green quadrants there are areas where we're looking to place the puck. And the center basically needs to be ready to go either direction. So as they come back into the play, they're ready. They can go to their right, or they can flip to their left right away. big targets, and then just a quick little exit play to the coach who will then put the puck back in. This would be something that you would rep really fast, because it's like you go back, you get the puck, you make a pass, you give it to the coach. The next group is going, and it's happening really fast. And you could run this for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you could slow it down, take a quick break, talk about some details that you want to see. But the routes themselves are pretty simple, but now you're teaching them how to do them with, like as a unit of 5, as opposed to just the D working on those exit plays, or the forwards picking up on their retrievals. And then here's just a quick little look here. We've got players coming back into the zone here, not directly on the wall. Lots of scans happening. Okay, we actually have a switch. There's a scan up the wall to know whether there's a pinch coming, and then look at the space that we're able to skate into here. Even though it doesn't go to him, he creates that opening to be able to make that play. And here again, nice little pop play into space, and we're out of the zone. You know, 1 pass beats 2 players pretty easily by just putting it into space. And then again, open space to be able to skate this puck out. Okay, little cutoff here on the way back. And this is what I was talking about. You don't have to necessarily be in full control. That's a pop puck into space. The winger picks it up. The weak side D is available there to start the breakout. And then they're going up ice. Right, so if you can look for clips or ask players to look for clips in NHL or PWHL games that are broadcast, you'll be able to see it pretty often, actually, it didn't take me too long to pull clips, and they're not perfect. And I think that's sometimes when we're looking for clips, we're looking for like exactly what we want to show. But if you can find imperfect clips, it's also great, because you can ask your players, okay, what could they have done better here? What could they have done different in that situation? And then I think this is one of the last drills. So this time it's just under pressure. So the F1's going to put the puck in and forecheck. So now you've got 2D and a center trying to get that puck broken out. Okay, when they get that puck, they make a play to the F2 and F3 that are waiting. They dump the puck in. Now they've got to beat 2 players out of the zone, right? So they're going to dump it back in. There's a second retrieval that happens against 2 forecheckers. F1 would wait outside the zone, and when they break that play, they would give it to F1 that's waiting, and you can have a quick little 3-on-3 happen in zone. So it's a bit of a game, but you're working on some of the details that you want to see from your earlier in your practice, or from what you're focusing on for that season. So this is I think national team. You can see a puck in the zone. There's 1 forechecker. They're breaking the puck out. They move it up. It gets dumped back in again. This is another 2v1. Oh, I think there's a forechecker coming late there. Right, so it should be like 3 breaking out against 2, and then this time it turns into a quick little 3-on-3. If you're at a rink that has live barn and you have a chance to like go back and look at your practice, it can be really beneficial. Even just take 15 minutes to look at one drill. If it was a really like a drill that you really want to see a lot of details of, it's nice to be able to go back and look at it. I know, listening to Ben talk there, he probably goes back and watches every one of his practices, which is pretty impressive, because I don't think I would be able to do that. But if you have access to be able to go back and look at some of the details around whether your players are doing it in practice, because like you said, you can't see it all live in game. Okay, sorry, this is probably not a discussion time for everyone, but I want to take a quick minute to thank, obviously, the coaches site for having me today. And I really echo some of the other coaches that just being able to be up here and present in front of a group of coaches. And, if you'd asked me, my former self, whether I would ever be presenting something to a group of coaches, that I would have something to present to them, I would probably not believe you. And I'll just take a quick minute. Earlier today, I got asked, what would I tell future female coaches, or female coaches that want to continue to coach and maybe elevate their game? And I'm going to have to say that when I look around this room, there are not very many in here. So if I were, I would encourage all of you here to be allies to the females that are coaching in your associations or in your partner girl associations. And we've got to have more women involved in coaching. And I know there are women coaching, but they're not here. And so we need them to be here, to be learning. It can be learning from you. It can be learning from events like this. But we need more women feeling confident to come to these events. And so that's what I would tell any young women or young women that you're currently coaching. Ask them to give back to the game and be able to come and network and feel comfortable being here. That's all. Thanks so much.